If you're looking for a home decor item with personality and charm, you found one here. Instead of walking past a bland, uninspiring vase on your shelf, you can showcase your individuality with this cat-shaped vase. It also makes a great gift idea. I'll show you how to take just a little bit of hardwood, probably sitting in your scrap bin, take it to your scroll saw, and make this unique vase. Today's project is a little unusual. It's a vase shaped like a cat. Now this is not for fresh flowers because it's wood and you don't want to put water inside wood, it would ruin it. But it would be for some dry flowers. Or plastic flowers, whatever. There's not a lot of parts, and because of the nature of the parts, we're going to do some stack cutting today. From time to time, you'll find a project where stack cutting makes sense because you'll need several parts that are identical and made from thin material. In this case, the sides of the cat are going to be 1/4 inch thick, so I took a 4/4 walnut board and then resawed and planed it into 2/4 inch thick pieces. As you can see, there was a large knot in the walnut. This didn't present a problem while resawing, but running it through the thickness planer was not too swift on my part. A big chunk of the knot broke loose, making a horrible noise inside the planer. Thankfully, no damage was done to the planer, only my ego was hurt. Take my advice, don't run boards with large knots through your thickness planer. I used blue painter's tape to hold the 2/4 inch pieces together for stack cutting. I used one piece near each end and one around the middle to make sure the pieces didn't shift while cutting. You can also use double-sided tape if you prefer. The next step was to attach the patterns to the wood. My favorite method is to use scroll saw tape, but there are others. I'll leave a link to my video on attaching patterns to wood on the screen and in the description. Scroll saw tape is a transparent two-sided tape. You roll it onto the wood, then you trim it to width. Once the board is covered, you use a fingernail or utility knife to pry up a corner, and then you peel off the backer. Because the tape is transparent, I can see where the knot is, and I can avoid placing any of the patterns over or too close to it. I trimmed the patterns right down to their flat bottoms so that I could place them right on an edge of the board and have a ready-cut flat surface. You should always be thinking of the best places to place patterns on the wood, as well as the most efficient pattern placement to waste the least possible amount of wood. Remember, we're setting this up for stack cutting, so we'll end up with 2 of each part for each pattern placed here. I had a piece of scroll saw tape left over that was just about perfect to cover the 6/4 piece of oak that I will be using for the center part of the vase. Once again, this pattern had a flat bottom, so I carefully applied the bottom of the pattern to one side of the oak. Another factor you need to consider when applying patterns is grain direction. Sometimes grain direction is important, but at other times it won't matter. You just need to be aware of whether it does matter for the particular pattern you are applying. I had a number 9 Pegasus modified geometry blade in the scroll saw from my last project, and I decided to leave it in for the one interior cut. This 6/4 oak thickness is at, maybe a little past, what a number 9 blade can handle, but because of the shape I'm cutting, I needed a blade that had some flexibility. I cut from the pilot hole to the line I needed to cut, then I followed the line into the corner. I didn't even try to make the turn. Instead, I backed up to the pilot hole through the curve the saw blade had just created. Then I cut along the line on the other side to the same point where I had stopped before. This created a loose piece of scrap which was bouncing up and down with the blade, and it was distracting, so I stopped the saw and pulled the piece out. Just after I started cutting again, the blade came loose. I slowed the video down so you could see what happens. The blade came loose from the lower blade holder, which you can't see because it's under the table, and that caused the tension lever, the white piece on top, to spring open. The blade can no longer cut, but it's still moving because it's held in place by the upper blade holder. The process startled me. It's not dangerous, just surprising, and I quickly took my foot off the dead man switch, stopping the saw immediately. This is a perfect example of why the foot switch is a good investment. I tightened the blade again in the lower blade holder, rechecked the fit in the upper blade holder, and then I completed the cut. I switched to a number 12 Pegasus modified geometry blade, made sure it was properly tightened, then plugged it like a guitar string. It produced a clear note indicating the blade was tight. By the way, between this project and whatever I'd used it for previously, the number 9 blade I used for the interior cut was dull, so I tossed it. Get used to tossing blades, it's part of the process. All that remains of this part is one long cut. This cut creates the exterior and the interior because the cat is open at the top so you can put flowers inside it. After I completed this project, I took it to my retail store to add it to the inventory. I went upstairs to the floral shop, my store's in the lower level, and obtained some plastic flowers to put in the vase. This will make it catch the customer's eye more easily as well as show off its use. Talking to Kara in the flower shop, she thought the cat vase was cute and it would make a good teacher gift. That got me to thinking you could also use this as a pen and pencil holder instead of a flower vase. It's small enough to take up little space on a desk. It would also make a nice addition to a shelf or bookcase. This oak is 1.25 inches thick, so be prepared for a slow cutting process. I guarantee you'll try to put more pressure on the blade to speed up the process. I find myself doing this, even though I know better, but it doesn't work. What will happen is that the blade will flex and you won't get a straight 90-degree cut, or the blade will overheat and start burning the wood, or the blade will break. A blade should never break while you're cutting. If this happens, it's an indication you have the blade improperly tensioned, you're putting too much pressure on the blade, you're cutting with a dull blade, or a combination of these factors. When I reached the point where the cut switched to cutting the inside of the cat vase, there was a 90-degree turn that would be difficult to make. So, rather than trying to make the turn and possibly leaving a poorly executed corner, I cut past the intersection and then used the waste section to turn the material until the blade was facing the next direction I wanted to go. From that point, there are some easy curves to form the cat's head, then more curves leading to the bottom of the vase. The line curves around the corner, then it goes straight across, and then it leads to a gentle curve that goes up the cat's back. There were two 90-degree turns close together at the top of the cat's back where the cutting switched direction to cut a short way down the cat's back on the outside. I made those cuts in the usual manner. I cut right to the intersection, pulled the stock back very slightly, just enough so the blade was no longer cutting, then slowly turned the workpiece to the direction I wanted to cut next. At that point, I started pushing the workpiece into the blade to start cutting again. I cut the short, straight line, and I used the same procedure to cut the next 90-degree turn. The next line leads to a very tight corner. To be able to make the turn, I cut right to the point in the corner, then I backed out a little way and used the waste area to turn the workpiece 180 degrees and then back the blade into the corner. Now it was an easy turn to start cutting in the next direction. After this, the cut led up the cat's tail, around in a curve at the tip of the tail, then down the curve of the cat's back to the bottom. The center part of the cat was then complete. If you'll recall, I was using a number 12 Vegas modified geometry blade for the 6/4 oak, so I needed to switch to a number 5 blade to stack cut the 1/4 inch thick pieces. These blades have reverse teeth, and you want to mount the blade so the majority of the teeth are facing down. This way, most of the cutting is done on the downstroke. Superman might be able to see the blade well enough to determine direction, but I'm an old dude who wears bifocals. Here's how I determine which way to mount the blade. Holding the blade in my right hand, I gently pull the blade across the thumb of my left hand. I do this in both directions, and whichever direction provides the most resistance is the side to point downward in the saw. I tightened the blade in the upper and lower blade holders, then I flipped the tension lever up, and I was ready to cut. I cut the smaller outside piece with the cat's legs first. It doesn't matter what order these are cut in, I just happened to start there. You can see from the way the patterns are laid out on the board that I was able to arrange them to avoid the area with the knot. Overall, this cut was not difficult. The only section that required much skill was where the paw meets the leg and there's a sharp point where the direction reverses. I made this by cutting right to the corner, then backing out the blade and using the saw blade kerf and the waste area to turn the blade 180 degrees. Then I backed the blade into the corner dull side first, and I was able to easily start cutting in the next direction, which was up the side of the cat's leg. This was followed by a long, gentle curve that formed the cat's leg. The changes of direction at the bottom were curves rather than sharp 90-degree corners. The last cut was for the cat's sides. There were no difficult parts of this at all. I just followed the line from the bottom of the left side all the way around until I finished at the bottom of the right side. With all the cutting complete, I pulled off the pattern with the scroll tape, and then I removed the blue painter's tape. Then I reached over to the countertop for the middle section of the cat's body and the outer part with the cat's leg and paws, and I set them together to see what the completed cat vase is going to look like. It might take a tiny bit of sanding, and then I'll be ready for the glue up. I'm using a small glue bottle with a tiny tip to spread a bead of glue onto the edge of the middle piece of the cat vase. I used my fingertip to spread the glue around to make sure the entire surface was covered. I added the next layer, flipped the piece over, and did the same thing for the other side. Since the vise on the end of my workbench was handy, I placed the bottom side inside the vise and tightened it. Then I added clamps to the top and side and left the project to dry. The reason I like to use the vise, especially for small but thicker projects, is that it provides pressure straight across the pieces and prevents them from moving while the vise is closing. Then I added the F-clamps. If I use just F-clamps, they have a tendency to move the pieces out of alignment while the screw is being turned to tighten the clamp. This eliminates that possibility. The most difficult part of this project was cutting the cat's body from the 6/4 oak, and that was mostly because the cutting was slow. As long as your scroll saw can handle 1.5 inch thick hardwood, you should be able to make this. As I was looking at the completed vase, it came to mind that you could enlarge the pattern if you wanted a bigger vase. I may try that myself. I appreciate and will respond to every comment, so let me know what you think of the project. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos, but you don't have to wait to watch another. A couple of suggestions for what to watch next are on the screen right now.